pianist. Don't think it's pianist, it's pianist. That's the one. Hello guys, welcome back to this channel. Thank you so much for joining me. If you are new here, my name is Sophie Waddington, and on this channel we talk about all things manifestation and mindset. So if that is your vibe, come and click the subscribe button because I'm posting videos very frequently at the minute and I don't want you to miss them because they're all absolutely fucking class. Okay, so today we are going to talk about neuroscience facts that affect your manifestation, starting with the first one, which is neuroplasticity. Your brain reacts to imagination as it does a lived experience. It does not know how to differentiate between the two. So, this is why people talk about visualization when it comes to manifestation, because when you visualize something, you are mentally rehearsing, and your brain does not know the difference between actually having it in real life in the 3D and just imagining it, which is why your imagination is so incredibly powerful. It is your God state tool, it is your creative tool, it is the best thing that you own to consciously create the life that you desire. And there's some really interesting studies about this. So there's studies about pianists. I don't think it's pianist, it's p pianist, pianist. That's the one. Fucking hell, that took me a while. So there is a study about pianists who mentally rehearsed pressing the keys on a piano in order to play a certain song. And they were able to actually learn the song and be able to perform it very proficiently through only practicing in the mind, which is absolutely fucking wild, isn't it? There is another study about basketball players where somebody took some basketball players and they split them into three groups. Now, these basketball players, were they basketball players? I don't know if they were actual basketball players or if they were just normal people. But anyway, they split them into groups A, B, and C. The first group was told that they had to go to the gym for an hour a day and practice doing free throws. So for that hour, every single day, they had to just practice the free throws and see if they could get better at it. The second group just had to go into the gym, but they just had to visualize doing the free throws for an hour as well. So they were in the environment, but they weren't actually making any of the free throws. And the third group was told to do absolutely nothing, to stay at home, not to visualize, and not to practice at all. So the third group, Group C, they didn't make any progress on their ability to free throw basketball. The first group, they made, I think it was something like, I should probably check this, but I know this is pretty accurate. I think it was something like a 30% increase on the first try. So they had improved by 30%. And the middle group, the group that went into the gym every single day, but only visualized practicing the free throws, they improved by something like 28%. The percentages might be higher actually, but the difference between the ones who physically practiced and the ones who actually just pretended in the mind, just imagined it, was like a 2% difference. So that shows you how powerful mental rehearsal is, because your brain just cannot differentiate between a real and imagined event. So when you repeatedly imagine yourself in the desired reality, you are wiring your mind to install that identity so that that can be played out in the 3D. So visualization is a super powerful tool. So the second fact is predictive coding. And this means that your brain is constantly predicting the outcome of what's coming. So it's not just recording the information, it's not just recording what happens, it's actually predicting it and creating a version, a perspective of reality through that prediction. So research in perception shows that 90% of what you perceive is influenced by top-down processing, which means your expectations. So rather than it being the actual sensory input of the things that are going on around you, it's created by your expectation. So those assumptions that you have are constantly forming the experiences that you have in the 3D. You are predicting what's going to happen. You're not actually experiencing it as it is. And this is why people interpret situations that are the same situation, but they interpret it differently. And in fact, I did a whole video on this about the reticular activating system. It was called Reality is an Illusion. And I'll try and link it here, but I don't know if I'll be able to. Anyway, we try. So definitely go and watch that video once you've watched this one, because it shows how your assumptions and your identity are constantly seeking out a certain version of events. So you're not ever experiencing a true reality. You're always experiencing it through your perception, through your beliefs, through your expectations and your assumptions. So it's really important that you have positive assumptions about the world around you, because if you don't, you are always going to continue experiencing lack. The third one is emotional conditioning. So something that you'll hear a lot of creators around manifestation talking about, particularly law of assumption creators, is repetition and the power of that repetition. I've got another video on that, guys. Okay, so you can go and watch that one too. But the power of repetition is super important when it comes to manifestation, because your nervous system learns emotional patterns through repetition. And those patterns become your default, like they become the baseline for you and for your identity over time. So, for example, if you constantly put yourself in stressful environments where your brain is sending those signals of stress to your nervous system, then you are actually training in that pattern as your baseline. So, when normal things happen in your life, you will immediately go into that stress mode, into that survival mode. So, you've got to be very careful about the emotional states that you are patterning in to your nervous system, because they become your baseline. So just to simplify that, that means that the body can be trained to stay in a certain emotional state, and we want that one to be a positive one. And this is important when it comes to manifestation, because as much as feeling chronically stressed or feeling worried or always feeling doubt is miserable, it becomes safe for your body. So it might not be an enjoyable experience, it might not benefit you in any way, but your body will always choose the safety of familiarity over something new and unknown and unpredictable, which could be something really fucking amazing. But your body is going to seek that safety in the known, which means that you get stuck in these patterns of doubting yourself, of being fearful, of worrying, of overthinking, of being stressed. And so you experience the same life over and over again, and you find it difficult to make positive changes. But the good side of that is that you can also condition yourself to be in a positive emotional state where you expect abundance, where you feel calm. And when you do that, that affects your life on the outside, because you are conditioning your body with a new emotional state that aligns with a new identity and a new experience of the world. The next one is memory reconsolidation. And this basically means that memories are not real, they're not fixed, they're not factual. They are reconstructed every single time that we recall them, depending on the identity that we are holding at the time, on our emotional state. So we can actually tweak our memories and they feel like facts still, even though they are completely different versions of the actual event. So this is why sometimes when you split up with somebody, and maybe you've had a really shitty relationship, you then start thinking, oh, they were a really nice guy. I think they were great. We had a great time, because your memory is being filtered through the lens of longing for that person and that safety and that familiarity. So stay away from that devil dick, babe, okay? But then let's say you were angry at that person later on and you recalled the same memory, you would experience that memory differently, because we are always reconsolidating them and changing them as we go. And this is actually really useful for us when it comes to manifestation, because a lot of our identity is formed based on our memories. So when we go back and we revise the memories and we see them in a more positive light, we are able to tweak them and make them more positive, and that in turn affects how we show up today. So when somebody has a traumatic experience, that can really physically affect them in their everyday life now, even though that's something that happened in the past. even though there's no such thing as the past, but we won't go into that today. So when we go back and let's say somebody works with a therapist who specializes in trauma to change that memory, it can actually reduce their symptoms by up to 60% because they are reframing that memory in a new light, making it more positive and taking some of that trauma away from that memory so that the person doesn't have to keep repeating that old experience over and over again. Revision is such a powerful tool. In fact, I'm going to do a whole video on revision because it's one of my favorite tools. But when you rewrite a memory, that means that you also rewrite the person that you are today, because those memories are what shaped the identity that we currently hold. And the final one is that your brain distorts reality through your cognitive bias, which basically means that you are constantly filtering through a certain lens of the beliefs that you hold. Very similar to what I was talking about in the video about your reality being an illusion, but just a brief recap of that. Basically, your brain has got shortcuts in it called cognitive biases, and that means that you interpret some information and it's filtered through a certain belief that you hold about the world, and then it shows up in your 3D reality to reflect that belief. So all of the information comes in from your surrounding, and because your brain is not equipped to take in something like 11 million bits of information per second, it filters that down to around 2,000 bits of information, and those 2,000 bits of information will be the ones that you believe to be true. So all of the information that aligns with your beliefs will be highlighted, and anything that doesn't align with your beliefs will be discarded. So if you are a person that is holding the identity of I always experience lack, I'm unlucky in love, whatever that might be, you are always going to be shown that information that will be hand selected out of the 11 million bits of information per second, and your 2,000 bits will reflect exactly what you believe to be true because of your cognitive bias. So I hope that you found those useful. If you did, there's going to be lots more information like this on mindset and manifestation coming on this channel. So please remember to subscribe, click the notification bell so that you don't miss any of the videos, and I will see you soon. Oh, you're fucking joking me.